At 3:19 in the morning, in the western Persian Gulf 31 nautical miles northwest of Abu Musa Island, 3 Iranian submarines fired simultaneously. 6 torpedoes entered the water in the span of 4 seconds. The target was the USS Leyte Gulf, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser transiting at 18 knots through waters Iran has claimed as a sovereign defensive zone for the better part of 3 decades. The ship's combat systems had been on heightened alert for 11 hours. Her captain had not slept. Her tactical action officer had been tracking 3 separate acoustic contacts since 2147 the previous evening, waiting with the particular patience that only comes from professional certainty, the certainty that the contacts would eventually move, eventually flood their tubes, eventually commit. At 3:19 they committed. What happened in the next 7 minutes would not be described as a battle. It would be described in the cold clinical language of naval after-action reports as a threat prosecution sequence. The difference matters. A battle involves 2 sides with a realistic chance of prevailing. What the 3 Iranian submarine crews encountered that morning was something categorically different, a layered defensive architecture that had known their positions, their intentions, and their weapon solutions for hours before the first torpedo tube pressurized. The USS Leyte Gulf was operating as part of a routine 5th Fleet patrol tasked with monitoring Iranian naval activity along the maritime approaches to the Strait of Hormuz. A Ticonderoga-class cruiser is among the most capable surface combatants afloat, 567 feet of warship displacing 9,800 tons, armed with 122 vertical launch cells carrying a combination of Tomahawk cruise missiles, Standard Missile, 2 NSM, 6 interceptors, and ASROC anti-submarine rockets. Her and Spy 1B phased array radar can simultaneously track more than 200 contacts across air, surface, and littoral domains. Her sonar suite processes acoustic data from hull-mounted transducers and a towed array streaming behind the ship at depth. She was not sailing alone. 12 nautical miles to her northeast, 8 P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft designated Trident 14 had been seeding the water ahead of the cruiser's projected track with /SSQ 53F DeFar sonobuoys since 2100. The Poseidon is a modified Boeing 737 airframe carrying a sensor package that transforms a commercial airliner's silhouette into one of the most capable anti-submarine warfare platforms in existence. Its acoustic processing system can simultaneously monitor up to 64 active sonobuoys, while its /APY 10 surface search radar maps contacts across a 150 nautical mile radius. The aircraft's tactical coordinator synthesizes all incoming data into a continuously updated underwater picture that feeds directly to the Leyte Gulf's Combat Information Center via encrypted data link. The 3 Iranian submarines operating against the Leyte Gulf belong to Iran's Ghadar-class coastal attack submarine program, 29-meter, 117-ton diesel-electric vessels designed specifically for shallow water ambush operations in geographies exactly like the western Persian Gulf. These boats carry a crew of 8 and are armed with 2 forward torpedo tubes capable of firing the locally produced Valfor heavyweight torpedo, a 533mm weapon, with a 260-kilogram warhead designed to detonate beneath a ship's keel and break its structural spine. The Ghadar-class doctrine is built on 3 assumptions: that shallow water creates acoustic clutter masking their presence, that bottom-sitting conserves battery power and eliminates propulsion noise, and that a coordinated multi-axis attack overwhelms defensive systems through sheer volume of simultaneous inbound threats. Iranian naval planners had refined this doctrine through years of exercises in the Persian Gulf. They believed it was their most credible asymmetric tool against American surface combatants. All 3 assumptions were about to be tested against a system that had already disproved each one. Trident 14 had picked up the first contact at 2,153, a faint but distinct metallic resonance from sonobuoy 17 at bearing 224 degrees, consistent with the idle harmonic of a diesel-electric motor cycling in passive standby mode. The tactical coordinator flagged it as a probable submarine contact and dropped 2 additional sonobuoys in a triangulation pattern. By 22:31, the contact was confirmed. By 23:19, a second contact appeared 4.3 nautical miles northeast of the first. By 00:47, the third was located, sitting motionless on a sand shelf at 29 meters depth, positioned to create a crossing fire solution on the Leyte Gulf's projected approach corridor. The 3 submarines had arrayed themselves in a textbook ambush triangle, one directly ahead of the cruiser's track, one offset to the northwest, one positioned to catch the ship attempting a hard turn to avoid the first 2. On paper, it was a competent tactical arrangement. It assumed the prey didn't know the trap existed. The Leyte Gulf's Combat Information Center had been receiving Trident 14's acoustic picture in real time since Contact 1 was classified. The cruiser's commanding officer reviewed the tactical display at 0115 and made two decisions. The first was to maintain course and speed. Altering the ship's track would signal detection and allow the submarines to reposition into unknown geometry. The second was to bring Seahawk 711 and MH-60, our helicopter assigned to the cruiser's embarked aviation detachment, to immediate readiness on the flight deck. The ship sailed toward the ambush deliberately. Every nautical mile closed the range on 3 submarines that believed themselves invisible. At 0247, Trident 14 detected the first sign of pre-attack preparation. The northernmost Contact had shifted from passive standby to an active operating mode, the acoustic signature of a torpedo tube being flooded with seawater before pressurization. The tactical coordinator immediately transmitted a torpedo prep warning to the Leyte Gulf. The same signal appeared from the second Contact 11 minutes later. Then the third. All 3 were preparing to fire. The window before they did could be measured in minutes. Seahawk 711 lifted off the Leyte Gulf's flight deck at 0309, 10 minutes before the first torpedo entered the water. The MH-60R carried a full anti-submarine warfare load, dipping sonar, a 25-tube sonobuoy launcher, magnetic anomaly detection equipment, and 2 Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes on the wing pylons. The helicopter transited northwest at 130 knots, following targeting coordinates fed directly from Trident 14 to the aircraft's mission computer. The Leyte Gulf simultaneously launched 2 ASROC anti-submarine rockets from her vertical launch system. The ASROC is a unique weapon, a rocket that carries a Mark 54 torpedo to the target area, discards the rocket motor at altitude, and delivers the torpedo into the water via parachute directly above a submerged Contact. Maximum range exceeds 22 kilometers. The weapon can reach a submarine faster than a helicopter can fly to the same position. The first ASROC was targeted at the submarine sitting dead ahead on the cruiser's track, designated Contact Alpha. The second was targeted at the northwestern Contact, Contact Bravo. The third submarine, Contact Charlie, was assigned to Seahawk 711, which was already inbound. At 3:19, all 3 Iranian submarines fired. 6 Valfor torpedoes entered the water across a 4.1 nautical mile arc. The weapons activated their wire guidance systems and began tracking toward the Leyte Gulf's acoustic signature. The Iranian fire control teams fed steering commands through spooling copper wires, watching their targeting displays as 6 weapons converged toward the 9,800-ton cruiser from 3 separate bearings. The Leyte Gulf executed an immediate 40-degree course change to port, a maneuver calculated to complicate the fire solutions of all 3 submarines simultaneously rather than optimizing against any single one. 2 AN/SLQ 25B Nixie torpedo decoys deployed from the stern in rapid succession, broadcasting acoustic signatures designed to mimic the cruiser's propulsion noise. The ship's electronic warfare suite activated the AN/SQQ 89AV-15 combat system across all available channels, saturating the acoustic environment with interference signals calculated to degrade wire guidance data transmission. The ASROC targeting Contact Alpha hit the water 340 meters ahead of the submarine and began its terminal attack run. The Mark 54's acoustic guidance system activated in the shallow Persian Gulf water, processing return echoes through signal discrimination algorithms designed for exactly this acoustic environment. The torpedo classified its target within 6 seconds and accelerated toward the Contact's keel. Contact Alpha had 22 seconds. The captain of Contact Alpha heard the splash. He didn't need to hear it. He felt it through the hull, and he understood immediately what it meant. He ordered full power and hard rise on the planes, driving his submarine off the seafloor and toward the surface in an emergency ascent. The Goddard's electric motors pushed the boat to its maximum 11-knot speed. It was not fast enough. The Mark 54 detonated 6 meters beneath the submarine's keel at 3:21 a.m. The shaped charred warhead produced a pressure bubble that expanded and collapsed beneath the hull in milliseconds, a dynamic that generates loading forces no submarine structure is engineered to survive. Contact Alpha's pressure hull failed at 2 points simultaneously. The boat flooded in under 40 seconds. Of the 8 men aboard, none survived. Contact Bravo's captain made a different calculation. As the second ASROC splashed into the water 280 meters to his starboard, he cut his guidance wire and ordered an emergency blow, choosing survival over attack. The submarine surfaced in under 90 seconds, ballast tanks venting compressed air in columns of white spray visible for miles. The torpedo his crew had launched was now running blind, its wire severed, its active seeker unable to discriminate the Leyte Gulf's hull from a Nixie decoy broadcasting 1,800 feet behind the ship. The weapons circled for 4 minutes, exhausted its battery, and detonated harmlessly in open water 920 meters from the cruiser's stern. Seahawk 711 reached contact Charlie at 3:23, 4 minutes after launch. The Iranian submarine had maintained guidance on its 2 torpedoes for longer. Both weapons were now inside 3 kilometers of the Leyte Gulf, closing at 38 knots. The helicopter's tactical systems confirmed an active guidance wire still connecting the submarine to its weapons. The pilot dropped a Mark 54 directly above contact Charlie's position without hesitation. The explosion severed the submarine's connection to its torpedoes. Both Valfor weapons lost guidance simultaneously, activating independent acoustic seekers in terminal mode. The seekers found each other, 2 weapons homing on each other's acoustic returns in a phenomenon known as mutual interference lock, and both detonated in open water 1.4 kilometers from a nearest ship. The Leyte Gulf reduced speed momentarily. Damage control teams swept every compartment. Hull integrity intact. Flooding none. Propulsion normal. Weapons systems fully operational. The entire engagement had lasted 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Contact Charlie surfaced 6 minutes after the Mark 54 detonation. The blast had damaged the submarine's stern section and disabled her propulsion, leaving the boat listing and unable to maneuver under her own power. 8 Iranian sailors emerged onto the deck and deployed an emergency raft, the universal signal that the fight was finished. Contact Bravo's crew surfaced and adrift 6 nautical miles to the northwest, transmitted a distress frequency, and waited. 2 hours later, a U.S. Navy rigid-hull inflatable boat from the Leyte Gulf came alongside both vessels. The crews were disarmed, documented, and transferred to the cruiser's medical bay. The submarines were photographed in detail by intelligence teams before being marked for scuttling. Of the 3 submarines that had entered the water 12 hours earlier with 6 torpedoes and a coordinated ambush plan, 1 was destroyed with all hands, 1 was captured with crew, and 1 surrendered. 0 American sailors were injured. 0 American weapons systems were damaged. The 6 Iranian torpedoes fired that morning achieved a combined result of 3 open-water detonations against no viable targets. The diplomatic signal reached Tehran before dawn. 5th Fleet Command issued a formal incident notification through military-to-military communication channels, and within hours the incident was referenced in NATO maritime threat assessments circulated to Allied naval commands across the Mediterranean and Red Sea. British and French naval commanders repositioned assets and raised alert protocols across their respective patrol zones. The message was coordinated, deliberate, and unmistakable. The mathematics of this engagement are worth examining with the same precision the Iranian fire control teams applied to their targeting solutions and found wanting. Iran committed 3 Ghadar-class submarines, 6 Valfor torpedoes at an estimated production cost of $400,000 each, 8 days of operational deployment per boat, including crew support, logistics, and base infrastructure, 2 crews killed or captured, 1 submarine destroyed beyond recovery, 2 boats lost to naval intelligence exploitation before scuttling. The total Iranian expenditure in hardware, trained personnel, and operational security exceeded $80 million by conservative estimates. The strategic gain was 0. The United States expended 2 ASROC rounds, 1 Mark 54 torpedo from Seahawk 711, and 11 hours of P-8 Poseidon surveillance time. Total consumable cost, approximately $3.4 million. Total American casualties, none. Total damage to a Ticonderoga-class cruiser, worth $1.2 billion, none. But the financial ledger understates the real loss. Iran's Ghadar-class program represents the institutional belief that shallow water ambush tactics can neutralize American surface combatants in the Persian Gulf. That belief required a specific condition to remain functional, the assumption that the acoustic environment in shallow, cluttered, high-traffic waters would conceal diesel-electric submarines from detection until the moment of attack. The engagement of 3:19 a.m. destroyed that assumption with the same finality the Mark 54 applied to contact Alpha's pressure hull. Every element of the Goddard Doctrine failed simultaneously. The acoustic clutter that was supposed to mask their presence was penetrated by Trident 14's sonobuoy network before the submarines had even reached their ambush positions. The bottom sitting that was supposed to eliminate their propulsion signature instead created a stationary target that ASROC could reach before the crew had time to react. The coordinated multi-axis attack that was supposed to overwhelm defensive systems was answered by simultaneous multi-domain responses, helicopter, ASROC, and electronic warfare, that neutralized all three contacts faster than any single platform could have managed alone. Modern anti-submarine warfare is not one system. It is a network of systems, airborne sensors feeding real-time data to surface ships while helicopters provide local prosecution capability, and electronic warfare degrades guidance communication between submarines and their weapons. The network doesn't have gaps that a submarine commander can find and exploit. The network is the gaps answer. Within 72 hours of engagement, satellite imagery over Iranian submarine facilities at Bandar Abbas and Bushehr showed boats that had been scheduled for patrol remaining tied to their piers. Training exercises that Iranian signals intelligence had been broadcasting openly for weeks went silent. The Persian Gulf continued to belong to whoever controlled the acoustic picture, and Iran had just demonstrated at the cost of 2 crews and 3 submarines that it did not control that picture and likely never had. The USS Leyte Gulf completed her transit, logged the incident, and resumed scheduled patrol operations. Her course was unchanged. Her speed was unchanged. The ship crossed into the Gulf of Oman under a clear pre-dawn sky, every system operational, every sailor at their station. For the Iranian sailors who fired that morning, it was the last calculation they ever made. For Iranian Naval Command, it was confirmation that a doctrine built on concealment cannot survive contact with a surveillance network that sees through water the way others see through glass. You cannot ambush an enemy that watched you plan the ambush.